Today we will discuss about the classes and objects in the C++ programming language. So first of all, what is language? A language is a communication between the any two persons. So any two persons in commonly. So here programming languages means we are writing the some program. So this program is a mediator between the software, hardware and the user. Using programming languages we can develop the software applications. That's why we need the programming languages. So C++ programming language is a one type of programming language in the computers. So now we will discuss about the what are the classes, what are the objects, what is the functionality of the class, what is the functionality of the object in C++ programming language. So first, definition of the class. A class is a user defined data type in C++ programming language. So in basic classes already I think you learnt about the data types. Predefined, user defined data type, predefined data type, derived data type, like this. So in among those data type, class is a one user defined data type. So it is the collection of member variables and the member functions. So one real time example for the class is a car. A car contains the speed, wheels, weight. These are all the come under the member variables. Next, what are the member functions? So changing the gears, slow down and the brake, these are all come under the member functions. Next one is the how we can define the class in C++ programming language. See, using the class keyword, we can create the class in C++ programming language, and after class keyword we have to give the class name, class keyword followed by the class name. So after that we have to implement the body of the class within the brackets, curly brackets, open curly bracket and the closed curly bracket. After completion of body of the class we have to end with the semicolon. So syntax is, so public is a access specifier. Next, class is a keyword, after then we have to give the one class name, that is any name according to your requirement you can give the class name. So after that open braces, after open brace you have to implement the body of the class, after then close the curly braces and keep the semicolon. This is the syntax for the class in C++ programming language. Next one is the object. Why we need the object? First of all object? So when you created the one class, so for that class no memory will be allocated in the C++ programming language. So if you want to allocate the memory for a particular class, you have to create a object for that class. An object is an instance of a class. An object is an instance of a class or reference of a class. Using the object you can access the class variables and member functions So how you can create the object for a class? There is a syntax. First, whatever you created the class, that class name you have to give, and after that you have to give the object. Name. So this is the Definition for the object. Once again I am repeating, listen carefully. So object is an instance of a class or reference to a class. So when you created the class, no memory will be allocated to the class. Once you create, if you want to allocate the memory, you have to instantiate that class, means you have to create the object for that class. Then memory will allocated in the memory space area for a particular class. So after that, already I said in the starting, member functions and the member variables, member functions and the member variables. So what is meant by the variable here? Variable is an identifier. Using this you can store the values in the memory. Using this you can store the values in the memory. In any programming language you can declare the variables using the data types, using the data type. Those data types are like integer is a one data type, character, float, double. These are the basic data types in the any programming language. So like that in our C++ programming also we have these data types. Using these data types you can declare the member variables in a particular class, member variables in a particular class. After that, member functions. What is meant by the member functions? Whatever the methods, functions you declared within the class, those are called the member functions. Either function or method, whatever you declared in the class, those are called the member functions in C++ programming language. So next one is we have the types of member functions. Types of member functions are access specifiers. These member functions are also called the access specifiers in the C++ programming language. We have the three types are there. First one is the private, second one is the public, and third one is the protected. We will discuss one by one what is private member, what is public members, what is protected members. So first we will discuss about the private members. So private is a keyword. Private is a keyword. If you declared any variable using the within the private section, then you can access those variables within that class only. Those variables within that class only. So you cannot access private variables out of the class. Out of the class. That is the private members are private variables. Yes, once again I will explain, listen carefully. So using private keyword you can declare the private variables. So within the private section, whatever you declare the variables, you can access those variables within that class only. You cannot access those variables out of the class. That is the functionality of the private members. Next one is the public. So like private, public is a keyword. So whatever you created or declare the variables within the public section, you can use those variables out of the class as well as within the class also, This is the public. Next one is the protected. Protected also one type of member variables in the C++ programming language. So using protected keyword you can declare the protected variables. So you cannot access the protected variables out of the class in general, but in inheritance there is a inheritance concept in the C++ programming language. So in inheritance concept you can access the within the class or out of the class, but you cannot access the protected variables using the object. Through object you cannot access the protected variables. These are the member variables, data members, member functions in the C++ programming language. What are those things? Private member, public members, and the protected members. So next one is the attributes. So here attributes are nothing but the variables. So you can declare the attributes or variables using the data types. For example, if you want to create a student class, if you want to create a student class, first you have to use the class keyword, after that class name is the student, after that give the open curly braces, under that give the student details. What are the student details? We have generally name, roll number, section, and the date of join, father name, like this. Like this we have the some student details. So here we can declare the variables as the name is one variable or attribute, roll number is one more attribute or a variable, section also one variable. So here using the data types you can declare the variables. Those are the string is a using string you can declare the names. String means nothing but sequence of characters. Name is a some sequence of characters, that's why we are taking the string data type for the name. So roll number is the some digits, 0 to 9 digits, we can repeat these 0 to 9 numbers to declare, to give the one roll number or UID number, that is the int, that belongs to the integer data type. Next one is the section also for the string data types, character data type. So using char data type you can declare the section. So like this you can declare the attributes in the class. So next one is the methods. Methods are member functions. So what is the functionality of the methods or member functions? Using methods you can perform the some actions within the class. So what are those actions? Suppose if you want to add the two numbers, addition of two numbers, that is the one action, subtraction of two numbers, that is the one more action, division of two numbers, that is the one more action. For this you can write the for these actions you can write the code within the methods. Within the methods, here I am mentioning the one example, whatever we discussed previously, name, roll number, section, using void is a one type of data type, so it cannot return any value, so print details is the my method name. So this is the user defined method name. You can give any name, not only print details, you can give the details or you can give the display, like that whatever requirement you have to give that method name here. Under that, using the cout, I am printing the name, roll number and the section. See, cout stands for the console output. Using it is a one function in the C++ programming language. Using this function you can print the data on the screen. Using cout function you can print the data on the screen. This is equal to the printf function in the C language. Cout function is equal to the printf function in the C language. See, now how we can create the one object to a class. First we have to include the particular header file into our program. Before that we can use the processor and include. Processor using hash symbol we can give the processor means here it will process the our source code before actual compilation. What is meant by the compilation here? Compilation means we are checking the either there is errors or not in our program, grammatical errors are there, syntactical errors, like this we can compile. So before compilation the processor will process our source code. So what is meant by the source code here? Source code means whatever we are writing the program, that is known as the source code. Include is the keyword in C++ programming language. Next one is the IO stream. We have to mention the header files within the angular brackets. Whatever you mention within the angular brackets, that is those things are known as the header file. So IO stream is a input output header file in the C++ language, so which provides the facilities of to perform the input output operations in the C++ language. IO stream is a standard library function which provides the facilities to performing the input output operations. For example, cin, cout, like this functions are there in the IO stream header file. standard library header file. So now one example. So again student class is a keyword, student is a class name and open brace. Next one is the we are mentioning within the public. So public access specifier. By default all the things are the private within the C++ programming classes. So if you declare anything within the private section, you cannot access the out of the class. That's why we are mentioning here the public access specifier. So name, roll number, section. So these are the attributes or the variables. Next, using void print details methods, I am printing the same name, roll number and the section. So after that completion of the class, I have to create the one object for that class. So already I discussed what is object. Object is an instance of class or reference of class. Using this object, you can access the class functions or class variables. Whatever you created the class, whatever you declare the functions, methods, variables, those methods, variables, you can access those variables, methods using the object in the main function, void main. So our program execution starts from here, void main. After that student is a class name. After that object name, our object name student1, student underscore 1. So compiler will check first student if there is a class in that or not. In the suppose there is a student class, then it will create the student object. So when you created the object, why then that time the memory will allocate to the for that particular class, So now here we are accessing the class members using the object. Using dot operator, you can access the class members and variables and functions methods using dot operator. Object name dot operator, again either variable or function name, like this you can access the class members or variables using the. So same here you hash include IOStream. After that using namespace std. So what is meant by the using namespace std? Using namespace std means we can use the names of object and variables from the standard libraries. That's why we have to mention the using namespace std. So once again I will repeat, listen carefully. Using namespace std means here we can use the names of objects and variables from the standard library function, standard libraries. That's why we have to mention these sentences here. After the same as class keyword and student open brace, we have to mention the name, roll number, section, all these things. And using the void print method, we are printing the student details, roll number, name and the section. So next one, in the main function we are creating the one object for our student class. Here student is a class, student underscore 1 is the one object. See here student underscore 1 dot name is equal to some XXX, you can give name. So in C++, if you want to assign the string values or character values, you have to give the within the double quotes, and the student roll number is the 32. You can give any number, not only 32, 101, 102, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this you can give any number. After that section, first section or second section or third section, like this you can give the section numbers also. Or if you use the character data, you can give the section A, section B, section C. Here I used the integer value, that's why I am giving the section 1, section 2, section 3, like this. After this we have to call the our method using object. What is the our object name? Student underscore 1. After that dot operator, our method name, that method name is the print details. So like this, using your object you can call the your class variables and the functions. So first you have to create the one object to your class in your main function. Using that object you can call that dot operator. Using dot operator, object name dot operator. Next your variable name equal to, you have to give so and so value. After that, and you have to call the object name dot your method names or function names in your class. Like this you can utilize the object. So next one is we will discuss about the constructors. So I think you should understand the what is class, what is object, what is the purpose of the class, what is the purpose of the object. So now I can discuss about the constructor in a class, in a particular class, and in C++ programming language. So what is the functionality of constructor? Why we need the constructor? Why we need the constructor in a C++ programming or not in any general programming language? See here. So constructor, using constructor you can initialize the variables, member variables. You can initialize the member variables, or you can assign the values to a member variables or attributes So here constructor is a one type of method in a class. It has the same name as the class name. Here class name and constructor name is the same. Suppose my class name is A, so constructor name is also A, constructor name is also A. Suppose if my class name is student, so constructor name also same as student. Okay, clear? Student. So while creating the object, this constructor will initiated, or this constructor will execute. When will the constructor execute? When you created the object for a particular class, then this constructor will execute. Then this constructor will execute. So here this constructor will execute only once at a time in the class. Only once at a time in the class. So here once again I will give the explanation. Listen carefully. The purpose of the constructor is to assign the values to a variables. So constructors are the methods in a class. So constructor has the same name as the class. Suppose your class name is the student, then constructor name is the student. Suppose your class name is A, your constructor name is also A. So we have the three types of constructors in C++ language. Not only in C++ language, you can have the any language in three constructors. First one is the default constructor, second one is the parameterized constructor, third one is the copy constructor. So we will discuss one by one what is default constructor, what is the parameterized constructor, and what is the copy constructor. So first we will discuss about the default constructors. What is meant by the default constructor? Default constructor means we are not passing any parameters to a constructors. We will pass the parameters to functions as well as methods also. Like that here also we can pass the parameters to a constructor, or we cannot pass the parameters to a constructors. Without passing any parameters to a constructor, that constructor is known as the default constructor. Default constructor means we are not passing the any variables, any parameters to the constructor. That is known as the default constructor. So here again I am taking the different program here. So in previous program we take the student details. Here I want to take the employee details. That's why I am creating the employee class. Again preprocessor hash include iostream header file within the angular brackets using namespace std. So using the class keyword class. So here my class name is the employee, open brace, within the public section I am creating the constructor. So my class name is the employee. That's why I am giving my constructor name as employee. In employee I am printing the using cout function default constructor invoked. So this is the information I am printing in my default constructor. After that I am giving the endl in the cout function. What is the purpose of the endl? Means after printing the default constructor invoked, the cursor will display in the next line. This is equal to the /n in C language. /n means within the new line, /n in the C language. Endl is equal to the /n in the C language. After that we have to close the curly braces from the constructor and as well as for the class, and we have to mention the semicolon. After that we have to declare the main function. main function. In main function you have to create the, or we have to create the object for the our class. What is our class? Our class is the, our class name is the employee. So here employee, after that give the some space and give the one object name. Object name is the E1. So when you created the object for a particular class, then automatically that constructor will execute. Automatically the default constructor will execute. So you can create more than one object for a class. You can create more than one object for a class. You can create n number of objects for a class. Here I created the only two objects, employee E1 is the one object, employee E2 is the one more object. Here I created the two objects for a particular class, employee class. So this is the this is about the default constructor. So what is default constructor? Default constructor means we are not passing any parameters to the constructors. So this type of constructor is known as the default constructor. So here I mentioned the some example. So next one is the parameterized constructor. So this is the second type of constructor in the types of constructors. So what is meant by the parameterized constructor? Parameterized constructor means we are passing the parameters to the particular constructor. So if you passed the some parameters to a particular constructor, that constructor is known as the parameterized constructor. So what is meant by the parameter here? So in main function you are passing the some values to a function or method or constructor. Those values are called the parameters. So here I mentioned the one simple example. So that is again student class is the keyword in public section. I am taking the again name, roll number, section. So again here, see here, constructor, my constructor name is the student. In student constructor, for student constructor I am passing the three values, in string x and integer y and integer z. Three parameters I am passing the for a particular constructor. That constructor name is the student. Here what is the purpose of the constructor? So we are assigning the values. We are assigning the values to a particular values to the variables. We are assigning the values or initializing the variables to a. So here whatever we are passing the variables to a using main function, those variables come here. This constructor name is equal to x, roll number is equal to y, section is equal to z. Again using public section I am printing those variables name, roll number, string. In the main function I am creating the same one what is that object. In the object I am passing the parameter values. ABC is the name, 32 is the roll number and 3 is the section, and I am calling the using object name print details. So like this you can pass the parameters to a particular constructor. So next one is the copy constructor. So what is meant by the copy constructor here? So copy constructor means it is also one type of function in the class. So you can initialize an object using another object of the same class. Using the one object you can initialize another object in the copy constructors. That is the copy constructor. So here I mentioned the one example program. That example program here, so that class name is the class A public, and I am taking the integer x. I am creating the see here one more constructor. Under that constructor I am giving the using ampersand the copy constructor. This is the parameterized constructor. I created the two objects and I am accessing the values of that particular variable. So next, last topic in the classes and members, destructor. So what is meant by the destructor? Destructor is a one type of method in the C++. This is opposite to the constructor. Using constructor we can create the object. Using destructor we can delete the object. Using destructor we can delete the object, or we can remove the memory for the particular class. So here this is the example program for the constructor, same using the processor include IO stream and using namespace st. So my class name is the hello world. I created the one constructor hello world. Here we can use the delt operator for the destructor. So destructor means we are removing the memory for a particular class, or we are deleting the object from for a particular class. So after that I am calling the void display. In that using cout function I am printing the hello world. After that in main function I am creating the one object, using that object I am displaying the hello world. After that when you created the one object, that then constructor will execute. After that automatically the destructor will execute, no need to call that one. So after creation of object automatically it will work, it will execute and it will delete the object. So this is the destructor concept.